19th century. I built an ox cart, 2 wheelbarrows, and a late 19th, early 20th century wagon while I was there. And I had originals to copy. My job at Conner Prairie was they would give me an original artifact and I would reproduce it. And I took as much time as I needed to do it. So I was learning blacksmithing. Not only was I learning as an apprentice early with a blacksmith who was the master of the shop, but I also was learning from blacksmiths throughout time, in a sense, because I was copying their work. So I had this vast experience of making virtually everything in the early 19th century, and also fixing things. So I have a pretty extensive. Along the line, when I was blacksmithing, I also acquired a bachelor's degree in anthropology and a master's degree in archaeology, and my master's thesis was on the development of the American axe. And research was I studied blacksmith ledgers, I studied blacksmith, the estates of blacksmiths, what their tools were like, what they were doing, and then I also studied the archaeology. When I came to Fort Snelling, the first 5 years at Fort Snelling, I studied the archaeology of what they had excavated. All the artifacts were in a written report, and used that to establish the blacksmith shop at Fort Snelling, where the animals were, what they were doing, and I learned all kinds of things about the type of work they were doing, the repair work they were doing, how they were doing it by studying the artifacts. And if you go to the Fort Snelling right now, the layout of the shop is based on my work. All the thumb latches, if you go at the fort, they're all ones that I made that were reproduced from an original one that we found archaeologically. And so my work was to do that. What's interesting, a lot of the tools that you're seeing us use, the tongs, the flatters, are things that I saw in the Bally shop today. Started that shop. But like this one at 1911, it's a tremendous story. They really are central. These blacksmith shops were central to the communities. They were places that people hung out, people came, but everything people did was involved with getting things repaired. And this shop goes from 1911, essentially before there's many cars. And I'm sure there wasn't. I don't think there was any cars up here in 1911, was there?
Yes, there were.
Was there a car up here?
My grandfather. There was one car, and he let people take their photographs in it.
Right. But I understand the roads didn't get up here until later.
No, brought it in by boat.
Right. So this shop records that change, and it's all there. You walk in that shop, and it's still there. It's there on the walls. I couldn't believe there's all the little boxes of stuff on the walls. But I would look at that cleanup. Oh man, that'd be fascinating for me. I want to tear into that trash. I want to see what's in that building. And every little thing, it would take me about 50 or 60 years to get through it. Because it is so rich. And each little thing there's got a story. It's telling a story. And it's telling great stories of your history and your heritage.
You can't leave and go home then.
That's right.
I've got a lot to do at home. But I'd love to. I think that it is. I really am so happy to do a good job, because this is important to the Minnesota Historical Society. This is the first time they've ever done this. And I think, and I see why when I got here, when I saw why it is important and why it needs to be done. And because it is a rare glimpse. It's a rare document, a rare artifact that you've got. I've got lots of old blacksmith tools that they don't have, and they've got stories, but they don't have this combined story that you've got. And I told Carrie, I said, yeah, I'd like to help with what I can. I'll be glad to help. Well, how much ever you want me to help? I'm from working people, farmers and tradesmen. We're talking about this. It's working people's history, and the contribution. We know all the stuff that all the big shots did, but this is all important stuff too. Great stories. Just go through some. This is a medieval blacksmith shop. They don't really change a whole lot. Here's a little later one, and it kind of looks like the Bally shop.
Yeah,
Bally.
Bally. Yeah, right.
And my thoughts is instead, I wouldn't focus on a year. I'd kind of leave all that history in there. You've got from 1911 through the 1950s, essentially in there. But just clean it up because all those years are there. All those artifacts that are there. I noticed there's bar stock still up in the racks, you know. All that's there. Make it look like when they left there. I would think about when they left there in the 1950s. Because you still got 1911, you got 1920, it's all in there. And the signs are priceless. You know, on both sides of the building there, that is priceless. You need to stabilize the building as soon as possible. Get it sealed up as soon as you can, get the roofing fixed, and stabilize things. So, yes, you can. You can make that a working shop, but there's ways to do that with what you got. You know, and I think that you should. I really like to see blacksmiths work. I like to watch somebody else work, always. But I think it's a great thing, and it's a rare thing, and the other thing is people love it. Fort Snelling was always the most popular thing to see was the blacksmith shop. Everybody went to the blacksmith shop. The smell, I know you all remember the smell of coal. I know you all remember the sound of the anvil, if you can remember that. Those things are infectious. Right now I know of 2 blacksmith shops like your shop, Lamberton and this shop, in Minnesota. So this is really rare and deserves to be, preserved. Number 1. And that will bring people. It's because every tool in there has a provenance. Every tool is connected in a giant web to each other. But once a tool has been sold in an antique shop, then it has no provenance. It has value, but not the same value that you have in your shop at this point. I had all kinds of schemes for that too.
Can you talk a little about the newer building?
Well, the newer building, it's part of that story. It's part of the story of the blacksmith shop. It tells the story of the transition from the blacksmith shop to the repair shop, arc welder, which is typical. Almost all blacksmiths end up either having garages or they were arc welders. They sort of split off. Or some of them became farriers, where they shoot horses and run around the farms. And the newer building ends that story. Takes you into the more of the present. And even that shop is important, but you make decisions on what you want to do with that. It's in really good shape. The building's in, I think, excellent shape. And it still tells the story of the changes in metalworking throughout the 20th century.
Yeah, Bill had shared with me the experience of retooling over generation.
Oh, cool.
And he would watch his dad. He told his dad would tell him that as a kid, it was his job when they were doing the horses and shoeing the horses to clean up after the horse while he did the shoes. And he said his dad had a broom that he used. So his dad told Bill, he says, when you're a kid, you're going to do the same thing, only we're retooling, I will give you a shovel.
Well, those are great stories. Those are rich stories.
Well, thank you, Tom. Here's an advertisement from the newspaper. Right after they built the shop, these were in every week. Every week, yeah.
Oh,
You're
wow.
the first one.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, cool. The change is happening, and you can see it in the Bally Blacksmith Shop. That's the amazing thing to me, that it's all in that building. All that history is there from 1911 to essentially now, but you can see it sort of, the artifacts are all there. The things that you guys think is trash, it's not trash to me. It is all incredibly valuable. There is no trash.